welcome back to Mama Mondays. You're going to have to excuse the state of my hair. I've gone au naturel this weekend just to give my hair a bit of a break. So it looks a state, you have to excuse it. Try and ignore it, I know it's hard. But this week I'm going to be talking about my labour and delivery with Paisley. I've got my cup of tea ready. If you want to pause the video, go get yourself one, sit down. So, right, let's get into it. The whole time I was pregnant, before I was even pregnant, I had this ideal labour and birth in mind. I'm sure most women do. I had a detailed labour plan written out. I didn't want any drugs, no pain relief whatsoever. The only pain relief I wanted was the pull, because I've always found, especially with periods and stuff, hot water and heat has helped a lot. So I thought having a pull would be my natural, non-medical way of using pain relief. I was open-minded to using gas and air if need be, but I wanted to try and do as much as possible on my own. I loved the idea of going into labour naturally. The excitement that you see on TV and in movies of, my waters have broken, I'm in labour. But unfortunately I didn't get any of that. At 37 weeks and 5 days, I think, I'm having to rack my brains for certain things because Paisley's nearly 19 months now, so it was a little while ago. And it does become a bit of a blur afterwards. I went to hospital with reduced movements. I'm not sure now if I was just being over the top, because obviously the bigger the baby gets, the less room they've got to move around anyway. But just to be sure, like they always say, we'd rather you come 100 times and everything be okay than not come that one time and there be a problem. So I went up to hospital and they put the monitor on, and as usual they put it on for about 20 minutes, came back, and I think they did it another time, and then this was on a Friday, I think, and then on the Monday they had me in for a growth scan. I think it was just precaution because I'd been in 3 times with reduced movements. They wanted to just do a scan and check that he was growing properly and everything. And they didn't do scans over the weekend, so I had to wait those 2 days. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough as well. So yeah, I went down on the Monday, had the scan. I went on my own, Ben was at work, and they did the scan, and then, like they had done previously, they said, right, we're just going to get the doctor to debrief everything, check over your notes in the scan. If you just wait here, he'll call you in. They called me into the doctor's room, and he said, okay, right, I'm not sure if it's because you've had different sonographers, and obviously they do things slightly different, or whether his stomach is not growing as much as it should be. For the sake of 2 weeks, we're going to induce you and get him out. And he excused himself, and I phoned Ben in tears, and I said, Ben, I don't want to be induced, I don't know what to do. And he nearly fell off a roof. He was working on the roof at the time, and yeah, we thought we had another 2 weeks at least, and it was going to be in the next 3 days that Paisley was going to be here. So yeah, I sorted myself out, went home, and I was told to wait for a call in the next couple of days. I was expecting it on the Wednesday. Ben took the day off work. We didn't actually get the call that day. He was sitting there like a nervous wreck, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything. I was just so worried about what was to come, because I thought I had another 2 weeks to prepare for this. So we got everything ready, and then on the Thursday we got the call at 9 AM. I was up early anyway because again I couldn't sleep, and they called and said, right, we've got a bed free for you, come on down. And I said, okay, well, I've not had breakfast, I need to have a shower. And they said, that's fine, there's no rush, just come down when you're ready. So we got everything ready and got a taxi and went down to the maternity unit. We got there, I had to go on the monitor for an hour, I think, first. And then they gave me my first pessary. Bearing in mind, I've got a group of mummy friends and 2 of them had been in previously to be induced, and they'd had 6 pessaries each and nothing had happened. I was expecting the exact same thing to happen to me. It didn't. So I had 1 pessary and then they said, okay, if you want to go for a walk, off you go. So we wandered the hospital grounds, we went for some food, we went for a cup of tea, and then came back a little bit later. And I had started to get like pressure down at the base of my back at that point, and kind of like, I suppose, period cramps, but nothing that bad. And then I think it was 6 hours later, they examined me and they said, okay, right, you're at 2 to 3 centimetres. I was like, okay, this is going to be a breeze. She said, I'm going to give you a stretch and sweep, just to help move things a bit quicker. Okay, and then I think they normally would put another pessary in, but because my body had started to move, they decided not to. I said, okay, off you go and do a bit more walking. So I went to the toilet and straight away, it may start getting a bit TMI now, so if you don't want to hear the gory bits, then I wouldn't watch anymore. But yeah, I went to the toilet and I had lost quite a bit of my plug at that point, so the stretch and sweep was a good one. Yeah, so that happened, and then we'd gone off for a walk. I was going up and down stairs. I was just walking as much, because I know from other people telling me that moving while you're in labour is good because it helps to encourage things. If you rest too much, then things can slow down. Things started progressing and getting a little bit more uncomfortable. I had to stop every now and then and grab hold of the very well placed bars on the labour ward hallways and just breathe. And we got back to our little bed on the ward, and I then said, can I be examined again? I know it's early, but I feel like things have moved on quite a bit. And so they examined me, and I had got to 4 centimetres. And they said, okay, yep, Dad can stay. You're going to be moved to labour ward as soon as we've got a bed free. And by that point, I was struggling a bit. I couldn't sit still, and I wanted to go down to the labour ward. There wasn't any beds free, so they gave me some Oromorph, I think it's called, to try and help with the pain. I resisted quite a lot taking it, but in the end Ben convinced me to take it, and I asked if I could have a hot bath, and they agreed. So I went and had a bath. Ben came in with me just in case anything happened. I had a little cry. I think your emotions are going everywhere when you're in labour, and I was actually crying because I was worried about Gary being home on her own and thinking that we didn't like her anymore. Yeah, the things that go through the things that go through a woman in labour's mind is hilarious. But yeah, so got out the bath because I was just like, I can't sit still anymore. Came out and they were moving me to the labour ward. It took me a little while to get down because you kind of I had to walk on tiptoes whilst holding on to Ben and stopping for another contraction. And we were in our room, hooked up to monitors again, and I'm not sure how long we'd been in there for, but then the midwife that I had broke my waters, and within an hour of that happening I'd gone from 4 to 8 centimetres, so it progressed very quickly. And yeah, the pain just shot up. It wasn't easy to get used to. It didn't slowly build. It was like, okay, this is really uncomfortable, to, oh my goodness, what is this pain? I turned into a banshee. I was screaming, swearing, I was batting the midwife off of me. I'm not like that. And they were trying to get me to use the Gas-O-Nair. I kept throwing it away because I thought it wasn't working. I now, thinking back, think that I couldn't get my breathing right because as the contraction is building, I should have started my breathing then, but I was waiting until the pain had hit. That obviously isn't the way to do it, and then I was just holding my breath through it, waiting for it to end. But the thing with contractions, if you've not experienced them, I remember thinking, okay, it's at its peak now, and then it would just keep going, and it's like, wow, I didn't think it could get more painful, but it just has. So yeah, timescales I'm not really sure. As people that have had children, it's all a bit of a blur. You're so concentrated on what you and your body are doing, you have no concept of time. But I remember saying to my midwife, I feel like I need to push, and she was like, okay, and she was letting me start to push. Not long after I'd started pushing, the head midwife in charge came in and asked to examine me. They do something called fresh eyes, I think it's every hour, just to get someone else to look at it, just in case there's any problems or something like that. And she said, I remember looking at her, like at the base of the bed, and she looked at the midwife, rolled her eyes and said, why have you been letting her push? She's only 8 centimetres. And I was like, hang on a minute, what's going on? And then things got a little bit serious. The head midwife looked at me and said, right Heather, I'm going to give you a bit of assistance, but if you can't make any progress in the next couple of pushes, we're going to have to give you a hand with the ventouse. So contractions were coming thick and fast by this point, so I gave it a good go. With every contraction I was pushing, and I could feel precious little Paisley coming down the birth canal, but then as soon as that contraction stopped and I stopped pushing, I felt him shoot back up again. And I don't know if he was stuck or, well, I know now he was coming face first, so rather than, I think it's this part of their head that normally pushes through first, he was coming face first and he was back to back, hence why I had the pressure in the bottom of my back and feeling like I need to push. It wasn't that at all, it was just the way he was positioned. Also, it later transpired he had the cord wrapped around his neck. So, yeah, I couldn't get him out, he was stuck. And so they said, okay, we're going to have to assist you with the ventouse. I didn't want that, I said, no thank you, I want a cesarean please. And so, next thing I know, a button's pushed and there's so many people in the room. I think Ben must have been panicking because he didn't really know what was going on. I don't even know if he heard me say I wanted a cesarean, but I remember him taking my nightie off and putting a hospital gown on, and my rings were taken off, plasters were put on my piercings, and the midwife that I had came over and jabbed me in the leg with some kind of thing. It was an anti-sickness injection, and I heard Ben in the background. I think he'd said he'd excused himself for a second, and I could hear him. It was kind of like in the distance, like it was a dream, on the phone to his mum, panicking. And he's like, I don't know what to do, Mum, I feel powerless, they're taking her down for a cesarean. And then he was taken off to get some scrubs. So yeah, I was wheeled down to the theatre. Ben appeared in front of me. I was hunched over a bed holding a pillow as they were doing the spinal to numb me. And they were like, Heather, you need to stay still, you could get paralysed if you don't. And I said, I can't. These contractions are back to back and so painful. How the hell am I supposed to stay still? And then, yeah, Ben appeared in front of me and he looked at me and he said, Hev, you need to stay still. So I hugged this cushion as hard as I could, and Ben said afterwards he's never seen me go so red. But they did it. Instant relief. They laid me down And I felt normal again. The pain was completely gone. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can talk to people on a normal level. I'm not this screaming banshee of a woman anymore. And yeah, that was nice because I had a bit of clarity to my mind and could actually enjoy the experience that I wanted. So yeah, I remember reading in my notes that the scalpel went to skin at 5:27 and Paisley was born at 5:33 AM on the 15th of September. So it was all a very, very quick labour. Paisley was brought round to the side and showed to us, and I bawled my eyes out. Ben bawled his eyes out, and I think he was given to Ben and I was allowed to see him, but I wasn't holding him because they were sorting me out. And yeah, that's my birth story. We were wheeled out. They asked me if I wanted to have a go at feeding Paisley straight away. I'll talk about that a bit more in my video from last week on my breastfeeding journey. But yeah, it was a very traumatic experience. Not how I imagined or wanted at all, but it's changed things for me a little bit. I do next time want to try for my natural labour that I wanted this time. I want to study hypnobirthing to try and control my breathing, and I won't turn down drugs. They help a lot, but I'm also not scared to death of having cesarean. I've had one before and I know how easy they are, how controlled they are, and how easy the recovery is compared to what you think it's going to be. They tell you not to do heavy lifting, you're not supposed to lift the baby, and you're not meant to drive for 6 weeks. I was driving after 3 weeks. Short journeys just to like the supermarket and back, but I need my car. Especially with the baby, like you can't walk everywhere when you've had a cesarean, and you can't just sit in the house for 6 weeks, you'd go stir crazy. But yeah, so that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll come back again next week for another Mama Monday. I really, really would love to hear your stories, so please share ahead. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for future Mama Monday videos and other videos that I post on my channel. If you've got any ideas or things you'd like me to talk about on Mama Mondays, then make sure you leave it in the comment section below. I'm always looking for new ideas. I will run out at some point, I imagine, so any ideas would be greatly received. Yeah, thanks guys, and I'll see you next week.
So what is he? 2.99 kilos.
2.986 pounds 9.